Probably going to get the immediate copyright.
I'll turn it off. We on?
Yep.
You pulled down.
The old crooked. We can go forward. We can go back. What do you think?
You can't see the lapel. There we go. Just got to get that lapel in there.
Is it loud enough now?
Getting them all hot and bothered. Showing them the locations. Touch. So it's actually using our microphone audio to the YouTube and to the podcast?
God, I am not that sophisticated.
Oh, it's just
I have to press record on the other computer, and then
these?
Yes, and then it's just going to record ambient via the microphone.
The YouTube is just recording off the laptop.
Mm-hmm.
I see.
So it's not the greatest audio, but I'm no guru.
We got 2 minutes.
2 minutes.
All right, let's look for that.
Can finalize our lighting. Seems good. Yeah.
I'll just back it up a smidge.
A smidge?
Just a smidge.
Good?
Yeah. A little bit more. Okay. Keen Pizza Biters teaming up with Keen Edibles is the rumor on the street. Powerful combo. No doubt. Got the mix going.
We're actually going to start on time. Not like that hockey league that cannot manage to start a game half hour after puck drop.
What do you mean you can't see the sport coats? Look at this thing. Got my lapel.
All right, I'm starting the podcast here.
Okay.
Welcome to Tumble Home, a Boundary Waters podcast. It's that time of year. My name, as always, is Eric, joined by my correspondent in the studio, Adam.
At the Insider's Desk.
The Insider's Desk.
Here at Tumble Home Sports Network.
Yes, indeed. we're going to be revealing all 64 teams in the Tumble Tourney, bracket by bracket. Before we get into it, we have some sponsors to discuss. Of course, our fine friends on Patreon, you are still very important to us. Looking forward to some fun stuff this March. And I think the A River Runs Through It episode is out there for you to enjoy.
Over the lips and past the gums, watch out stomach. Here she comes.
Was that Alfalfa from The Little Rascals?
Yeah.
All grown up in that movie?
I think so. Well, he was a little grown up.
Yeah.
He's medium. That's medium alfalfa.
Medium alfalfa. And of course,
Oh boy.
that's just your pre-show beer there. We've got some. I'm shocked we have not been sponsored by this beer as of yet.
Seems unlikely.
Got a Toppling Goliath Brewing Co. out of Iowa. This is a Pseudo Sioux Pale Ale. Cheers, my good man.
Cheers, cheers. Always appreciate a tall beer at 12:02 in the afternoon.
Yeah.
There's a gentle snow falling outside of Studio K here at Tumble Home Sports Network, and the excitement is palpable.
It looks like we may have been already fact-checked on the fly. We have been sponsored by this in the past. But
Popalicious help.
this is from Hannah, Brady, Louie, Emmy, and June. Thanks, guys.
Team sponsorships.
You never
It's
knew.
the new trend.
You never knew that when you dropped this off all the way in last summer that you were going to be the sponsor of Tumble Tourney Selection Sunday.
MMXXMM1.
Rolls off the tongue.
Yes. Second annual tradition, unlike any other. It's hard to believe it's been a year. And yeah, here we are. We've survived a year of a pandemic. And we're still now the longest running virtual tournament in the world.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody could debate that.
They can't. Fact check that on the fly. They
All
can't.
right.
It's a fact. That's a rock fact. Pseudo-sue.
The tournament has been filled by the illustrious and mysterious selection committee. Nobody truly knows who's on that committee or where it happens or how it happens, but
I heard it's kind of like the Red Room from Twin Peaks. It just appears at random in space and time. You never know where it will be and what decisions they will make, but they are always the correct decisions.
yes, and the board appeared at your doorstep just this morning, as is.
Completely post-it.
And we're going to go through it with everybody on YouTube like we did last year. And,
Your hair is looking great, Eric.
well, thanks. Yours is also looking great. I mean,
Well, thank you.
it's a tradition like no other. I'm not messing around with a raggedy hoodie.
No. And I am definitely wearing pants.
You are
Definitely not wearing
wearing
chubbies.
pants.
I gotta say, I was sad to see that the Team Chubbies didn't even complete their season in the apparel conference, let alone earn a bid. So, spoiler alert: the Chubbies are not in this year. As an alumnus of Chubb State,
What happened there?
I'm sad. Nobody's really sure. Controversy abounds. I'm sure we'll learn more about that story. That's a developing story. We may get more updates by next week.
Okay.
But yeah, they didn't even attend their conference tournament at the end of the season. There's some rumors, but I don't want to speculate on live air. So, but you know,
You got to protect those sources.
yeah, as an insider, I got to be careful in what I say. But as an alumnus of Chubb State, very sad they will not be in this year's tournament. I'm sure there's going to be a few other favorites out there that don't make the field of 64.
Mm-hmm.
All the play-in games have been played. The selection committee has rendered their verdict on the seeding, and you know, I'm sure there's going to be some disappointed fans out there. Perhaps we should talk about some of the teams that we feel are on the bubble.
Yes, we have a number of bubble teams that, you know, their resumes are a bit of a toss-up. Let's start from the top. The team that has made a late season push. This is probably my top bubble team to for sure make it. And I think after that, they're all toss-ups in my opinion. But the hot upstarts from the food conference, we've got Ripe Avocado. I would be shocked if they didn't make it, but they made a nice late season run in their conference tournament, the food conference. I'd be surprised if they didn't make it, but I think they're a bubble team for sure.
Oh, absolutely. They had a really great end of the season. Unlike very uncharacteristic for the Avocados. Usually they do start to gray as the season begins, but they teamed up and brought in a new offensive mind on the coaching staff in Coach Lime. And it seems that it has kept that approach fresh.
Yeah.
Well into the end of the season here, and who's to say how far they can go. A lot of power on that Avocado team. It just keeps the legs churning.
The way he changed up that offense to a citric acid formation, I think that's what got him through the season. There's no way Avocado typically lasts with their typical offense. As you say, they just get a little mushy over the course of a season. Some other bubble teams here, we've got the Harmonicas. Say what you will about their leave no trace ethics and harshing the buzz of other campers in the Boundary Waters. But they do provide joy to those that are immediately around them.
Absolutely. Coach Toots is a lot of fun. He's just an infectious character, and always a lot of fun around the campfire, keeping morale high. So we're excited to see where they may end up in this year's bracket. But their record, it's highly questionable. They had a couple of losses early in the season against very bad teams. So the selection committee may frown upon a massive blowout loss to Trombone.
Yes.
Early. They're kind of playing from behind all season.
Yeah, you can't lose to Trombone because Trombone has no place in the Boundary Waters. So
absolutely not. It's disgusting.
Yep. Another bubble team that we're going to see if they make the tournament. They were in last year is Duct Tape and Bic Lighter. They both struggled a little bit off and on. They're roughly 500 in their conference. In the Gear Conference, which is a deep conference. We'll see how many teams make it in out of the Gear Conference.
Gear Conference is a powerhouse. Last year Duct Tape for me was a team I thought was going to make a deep run, proving that didn't work out that way. But they're always in the mix. But yeah, that Gear Conference, Eric, so tough.
So deep. We got the X-Raps. They got bounced early in the first round last year, and it just kind of never really picked it up in the 2021 season.
It really wasn't a great year for casting or trolling.
No, the Fishing Conference, I think, had an off year. Hydration Nation, Nalgene's also on the bubble. We'll see if they can scrap their way in.
It's pretty crazy. They had a key injury to the little strap that keeps the lid on. And so they've been losing their lid a lot. It's tough. It's really tough, but they're scrappy. They're a scrappy bunch.
You can lose the lid on a season very quickly if that strap breaks. We've got a couple of new conferences being introduced into the field this year. We've got the Lake Conference, another bubble team out of that conference. I think there's a couple of for sures in out of that one, but one that is on the bubble is Ensign Lake. We shall see. The Headlamps out of the Gear Conference, also a bit of a bubble.
Yeah, they were a pretty decent seed last year, if I recall. Got a couple wins, but they're definitely no guarantee to make the field this year. There can only be 64.
Right. There's no play-in games to this tourney.
That's true. Had they ever made the top 25 this year? Do you recall from the Unassociated Press?
I don't think the Headlamps ever cracked the top 25.
They did this year, and it was always surprising to see them outside that exclusive list. But it just goes to show you how tough that Gear Conference is.
It's a deep one, for sure. They might have to do what the Canoe Conference has done and fragment themselves into more specific makes and models. But we'll get into that after these last couple of bubble teams. This team made a serious run at the end of the year, and I think they were one of the hottest on in the publications. They were talked about. It was water cooler. The Lagomorphs making a late season run. How many articles were written about this team at the end of the season? It was crazy.
Yeah, they are a real darling of the sporting media and the ecological media. Big time Lagomorph fans out there, and with good reason.
Probably the deepest bench. Almost unlimited bench.
Great speed and stamina. Amazing. They can run for days.
Yeah.
They'll run you right out of the gym.
They will. Yep. And the one team that I would be surprised if they make it in, but my last bubble team here is the Brown Stuff Old Whiskey. We'll see if the Whiskeys can make it in this year. I know that they're a bit of a fan favorite. They have a very solid yet small following, and we'll see if they can.
They had a couple sluggish starts. They had a few unfortunate 11 o'clock games at the end of the season.
Yes,
which they really didn't seem to show up for the first half.
Yeah, they play late. And that's just over the course of a season.
They always get stronger as the game goes on, though. The Whiskeys, and another one you mentioned the Brown stuff, but I have some inside information that the Brown Volcanoes may be making a run at their first ever tournament.
Yeah, and they're an independent team.
Out of the independent, so it's hard for them to gain traction, but yeah, they had a lot of hype this year. A podcast I listened to had them on a 2-part series on the Brown Volcanoes, and got a lot of people excited about them, and really buying into the program there. So we'll see. My sources say they have a strong chance today. We shall see.
All right.
Don't peek though. Don't peek behind the Post-it notes, Eric. No peeking.
All right. I won't. I have no idea what is behind the Post-it notes. Do you want to get into Remix bracket?
Well, are we going to talk a little bit before we start ripping just on the new conference alignments? We had mentioned earlier that the human conference has been quarantined and possibly banned for life from the tournament this year.
For sure quarantined.
For pandemic related reasons. They're a filthy bunch, and so there will be no humans in this year's event. And we've kind of talked about the different conferences, what we have for stronger conferences. I guess we can talk about that as the teams are revealed.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we've got a bit of a shakeup in the organization of the league structure this year. So just bear that in mind as we discuss this both today here on Selection Sunday from Tumble Sports Network and in future events on tournament coverage as we go forward.
Yeah, well, I think we're to that point, the meat of the episode. And we're going to start by revealing individual brackets, just go team down, and then we will discuss maybe some of our thoughts on the teams involved and maybe some potential matchups going forward.
Absolutely. We're going to be, as Eric said, we will be starting in Remix. There's some questions as to whether or not they would retain a first-round set of games after some transportation issues last season, but Remix is always a fine hospitality stop, and we're excited to see the games up here in Remix.
Yeah, and we're starting with the number 1 overall seed.
That's right.
The one undefeated team this season. They ended as number 1 in the Unassociated Press polls. You know who it is. We're talking the Northern Lights and KP Index.
KP Index is somehow having a better season than last. I guess it makes sense as we emerge from a solar minimum, shooting the lights out.
We'll see who they're going up against in the 16. Oh boy, we've got the cell phone towers. What a freak show of a team this one is.
I can't believe they're in. They did win a couple key games late. Some say they're in the Trees Conference. Some say they're in the Gizmos Conference. So nobody's really sure, but they are pervasive. And it is kind of a sick poetry that the cell phone tower is going against the Northern Lights. I can't think of more polar opposite teams to face off in round 1.
Nope.
I am personally booing them, and I hope that they don't get 1 vote.
Personally booing. We're moving on to the 8-9 matchup, the 8 seed. We've got the Tents.
Oh, yes. The Ground Sleepers are a strong voting contingent, and I expect the Tents will probably have a very strong, at least in round 1. It looks like they have a tough matchup possibly in the second round. We'll worry about that when we reach that point. Who's the 9?
9 seed, we got Long Johns.
Oh, wow.
That's 8-9s. It's almost a toss-up, and I would agree that seems like a toss-up.
Yeah, those are both pretty closely matched teams. They both play a similar style of game, very cozy. So that'll be an interesting one. There may be some blankets pulled out at halftime. Who's to say? Maybe even a quilt.
Maybe even. Moving down to the 5-12 matchup. Who do we got at number 5? Oh, this year's hot upstart had went undefeated 17-0 to start the season, and then had a rough, rocky finish. as the 5 seed. We've got the Edibles in the tournament this year.
Yeah, I know we had a lot of people excited with that hot undefeated start. They were, matching win for win with Northern Lights for a while there.
Yep.
Really going strong, and then they kind of took a late season nap. So we'll see which team emerges in the tournament. Will they, possibly dose up and re-emerge and revitalized with great energy? Or, will we see the team that we saw at the end of the season that was kind of sleepy?
Yeah, and out of the relatively weak entertainment conference, I feel like that's probably what held them back from getting more votes going forward with that rocky end. Let's see what we have them going up against as a 12 seed. Headlamps are in the tournament as a 12 seed.
All right, so, and as a 12 seed, I think that's fair. You can make an argument, for a 12, 13, maybe even an 11 seed for the Headlamps. Their reputation precedes themselves in that tough gear conference, lighting the way.
Yep.
So that'll be a fun one to watch.
All right, moving on. And as a 6 seed, last year, they made it all the way to the Final Four. We've got W.A. Fisher Maps.
Oh, yeah. They were, once again,
Sorry, excuse me, a 4, not a 6.
A 4 seed for W.A. Fisher. They were once again the champions of the MAP conference, I believe.
Yeah, Maps and Nav.
7 or 8 years running now on Maps and Nav conference. Always a strong team. I expect them to make a good run. I got to go back on full moon on the Headlamps. There's just a lot of full moons this year that didn't seem like you needed the headlamp. And we had a full moon just last night, so I was a little worried about that omen. So I am glad to see them still lighting the way.
Still lighting the way. Who is W.A. Fisher going to match up against? We've got the only team out of the Trails Conference. They auto bid with their championship win. We've got the Border Route Trail.
Yeah, usually only the team that wins the Trails Conference tournament makes it. And what was their seed? An 11?
13.
13. That's fair. A real up and down season for the Border Route Trails. But they reached a nice overlook at the very end when it mattered most.
Yeah.
And what a vista. So really a Cinderella story there. I think there's going to be a lot of people cheering for the Border Route Trail.
For sure. Well, let's move down to the Isabella bracket, and then we'll maybe just discuss our first thoughts on this 1/4 of the tournament. Moving on. The 6 seed, I believe, a heavy, heavy fan favorite. We've got the Gravity Filters.
Oh, yes. Hydration-ish.
Hydration-ish.
They always vote, and they're a very smart group of folks that stay hydrated. You got to take that sips every 15 minutes. Have a sip.
They come out and they vote, and that's what it's all about. They are matched up this year against the 11 seed Slip Bobber Riggs.
Wow. This is one of the tougher matchups I can imagine in the first round.
That's a tough matchup for both teams at this point.
Both teams made a deep run last year. And one of them's going home early this season. That's going to be a tough one. Wow, that's a matchup that we should highlight.
We should highlight that one. Moving on. Who is the 3 seed out of Isabella? It's the Camp Chairs. Some say you can't go out in the Boundary Waters without one. We will see if that remains a true statement as they're matched up against the 14 seed, the Cedar Trees. From the Tree Conference.
Very nice to see this weird twist of events last year with the Cedar Kindling coming out of that conference. But this year, just straight up cedar trees, majestic and full of greenery, twisting their way over the edge of the lake as the water gently laps at its roots. One of my favorite teams, Eric. It's no secret.
I love the Cedars. They're always a fun team. I love being in the same building with them. Yeah. Oh, the smells are amazing. It's worth it.
Their locker room is probably the finest smelling of this entire tournament. And they've been a powerhouse for a long time.
Moving down to the 7 seed out of the Food Conference, we've got Fresh Blueberries.
Ooh. Yes. I somehow had fresh blueberries the other day for breakfast in northern Minnesota in the middle of February. And it felt wrong, but it felt so right, Eric.
Yeah, fresh blueberries, fresh picked in the morning. Throw that in your granola, your pancakes. I mean, they'll mesh and they'll adjust to any defense that comes at them. I'm interested to see who they're going up against here in the 7-10 matchup. Oh boy. The only team out of the weather conference, they won their tournament. We've got Dead Calm Reflections.
Oh my God, they did. Oh, I didn't catch that game, but I saw the score and I was delighted at Dead Calm Reflections.
That Dead Calm Reflections and Tailwinds matchup in their conference final was one for the ages.
It was a real back and forth.
It was.
I was on the edge of my seat.
Yeah.
Had I been watching it, I missed it, but damn.
Well, let's see who the 2 seed is out of this side of the bracket.
You're in the toughest conference, probably, with Northern Lights as the 1. Who's the 2 here?
We've got Skinny Dipping.
Wow.
Oh, they just kept it together all year. I don't understand how. They were always in the top 10. They faded a little bit at the end, but their strength of schedule was one. They're from the independent conference, or they are an independent team, I should say.
Yeah, they used to be in the Lakes Conference, and they broke free from the shackles of their clothing. And it's interesting to see that Skinny Dipping and Northern Lights and Edibles are all in the same bracket here. This should be a real fun one to watch play out.
It's a fun bracket. Let's see who the final team in this bracket is. Maybe talk just some future matchups that we might see that would be fun. So the last team in the Isabella bracket from the Critter Conference, a deep conference this year, the Red Squirrels are in.
Yeah, it's a deep conference, and you don't often see the Red Squirrels have a successful season. But with a mild winter, they've been on the move a little earlier than normal, and you got to watch out for those Red Squirrels. I almost hit one on the road the other day in February. Quite surprising. So it just shows they're very feisty.
They kind of have that same offense as the Lagomorphs. I have not determined whether or not the Lagomorphs are in, but they just keep coming.
Yeah, that Critter Conference, a lot of talent. You could argue that most years we should see 10 teams out of the Critter Conference every year. Often the selection committee does not feel that way. What are you going to do with those piles of posties? No peeking. No peeking. All right, so we've got our first 16 teams in. And as I said, I love this. It's a fun little bracket over here. You got the Edibles, you got your Northern Lights, and you got the Skinny Dipping. Couple of strong critters there. One critter. And the Slip Arbor Rigs Gravity Water Filter. I know those platypus fans are going to be coming out strong, but the Slip Arbor Rig made a deep run. I'm a little surprised at the low seed there from the selection committee at 11, and giving them a very tough matchup there. They are in Isabella, and there's a lot of good walleye fishing down near Isabella, though, so we shall see.
Yeah, we've got a comment in on the live chat here that apparently Dave thinks the white-throated sparrows should have beat out the red squirrels. They got jobbed.
Well, you can say it was a bad call, or you can say, it was a strategic error on the part of the sparrows in the end of that game. But the results, it may have been a close game, but the results are what they are. You cannot go back in time and change that. So we're just going to have to live with it. And next year, maybe the Sparrows can come back stronger in that game.
Maybe. Yeah, so the number 1 overall seed, the Northern Lights, they have not lost a game in over a year. Do you see them making it to the Final Four? No problem. Do you see any teams that could give them a bit of a challenge going forward?
No, I mean, there's some really good teams in this conference, but I honestly don't see Northern Lights losing. They're pretty much the favorite to win the whole tournament, which is why they're the number 1 overall seed.
Yeah, they finished the season number 1.
Nobody even last season gave them a challenge in the tournament, let alone the regular season this year. I don't think they even had a close game. And as we said earlier at the top, KP Index is shooting electric 88% from 3. Dude's raining points in on a nightly basis.
Yeah.
And as we said last year, we're still nearer the solar minimum than the solar maximum. This team's scary deep and have a bright future.
Yeah, I think I would agree with you. I don't see a team outside of a potential if they get a nap in and they can rebound. I feel like maybe in the second round a Northern Lights Edibles.
It would be in the
challenge.
Sweet 16.
Sweet 16.
Sweet 16 is where we would maybe see that one. I know the Edibles had a lot of fans, especially this year. It was just a really great year for that team. Sure, I could see it. The thing we learned last year is that you think the voters are going to align with the way, as an insider, you think about it. But the power of the Tumble Tourney is that it's the tournament of the people, and you never know what trends and what kind of bandwagons might emerge. It's funny to see how voters will adjust their strategies as we go round by round. So
yeah, and
nothing is a given here, Eric.
We are looking forward to our in-depth analysis from our in the field reporters.
Absolutely. I was listening to round one and Selection Sunday coverage from last year, and I was like, did we even have Reddit going at that point last year? It was the beginning of Tumble Home Reddit.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't wait to hear what their analysis is for the Selection Sunday, the rankings, the matchups, and then round one is always one of the more fun days on the whole podcast. I mean, Selection Sunday is exciting, but once we actually start to get the results and see how people are weighing in,
mm-hmm.
how do the people feel? That's what really gets me going.
Yep, for sure. That's exciting. The only other thing I'll say on this one, we will. I think we'll hold off on when we actually do our predictions. We'll probably start next week with that before we get to actual first round results.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to wait and think a little bit before I start to kind of fill in my bracket. We have all week to fill in our brackets and make our first round selections. So definitely gonna hold off until next week's coverage to kind of make more predictions. But yeah, it's hard to see Northern Lights not making it out of this bracket here in the West.
Yeah, and if you are new to the Tumble Tourney, the link will be shared basically everywhere to both the West and East bracket, and all you have to do is click on which team you think is better, and the mass results of that voting is who's going to win the matchup.
It'd be fun to see where our vote totals are this year compared to the first year too.
Mm-hmm.
I could see it being more by a lot, or I could see it being not as much, just due to there's more going on. Last year it was a weird year in which we were the last tourney standing, and so maybe we had a little more interest than normal in a bizarre, obscure sporting event.
Yep.
Admittedly so.
Should we move on down to Minto?
Yeah, let's get into Minto. And are we also going to have a way for people to submit their Final Four picks, perhaps?
Yeah, I think we did that last year where I just made a Google form. I can do that again.
And make sure that you put your full name. And didn't we have just a number of very good entries that didn't have a name attached to them?
Yes.
So make sure you put your name in there, because we had a winning entry and we weren't sure who it was last year. So yeah, once you see the full brackets, start thinking about your Final Four pick too, not just your first round selections. We're going to be collecting those this week as well at the sports desk.
All right, moving down to Minto.
Minto USA.
Minto USA.
I was asked this week, where is Minto? I said, it's more of a state of mind.
Wherever you want it to be.
Minto is wherever you need it to be. It's the best campsite.
The number one seed in the Minto region. Let's see. Back-to-back number one seeds. Bag of Wine back in as a number one seed, of course. Going up against 16 seed.
Who are they going to be slapping?
From the Fish Conference, we've got the green-eared sunfish.
What?
Oh, boy.
Is this a prank?
Somehow, some way, this magical, mystical team has made their way into the tournament, and I see a tough road ahead for them against the Bags of Wine.
They swarmed. I did hear they swarmed the Loch Ness Monster on their way to this tournament bid. I can't believe they had a severely losing record, and I honestly didn't even believe they were a real team, but somehow here they are. Quite shocking.
Quite shocking. Moving on to the 8-9. In the 8 seed, in Minto, Sven Saws.
Oh, yes.
Saw.
Wow, yes, the Saws. That's a very good team. I expect they'll make it to the second round against Bag of Wine.
You think so? They're going up against the 9 seed Loon Calls from the Critter Conference.
Wow, that's I don't know. We'll see. I expect the Saw to get by the Loons, but that will be a great matchup.
I think it will be a very close matchup. Moving on in Minto. We've got another 5 seed. Hammocks, a little bit of a lower seed than last year, I believe. But
That's a correction. The committee realized there's not as many people who are comfortable sleeping in the sky as previously believed. So not surprised to see them drop a little bit this season in popularity and in rank, but still a very good team.
Yeah.
They're very comfortable as a 5 seed, I would say.
For sure.
Oh yes.
Well, it depends on who they're going up against.
It depends on how your set is. I mean, if you can always get set a little too tight or a little too loose. It's got to get that just right set.
We've got another late season, lots of coverage on these guys towards the end there. We've got the Owls out of the Critter Conference. That's a tough matchup for Hammocks. Yeah.
They may regurgitate some pellets onto the Hammocks in the night.
That would be an interesting tactic.
Just weigh them down a little before the game. Yeah, 2 teams of the sky, though. Both very quiet and effective at their jobs. This is a very interesting matchup. The selection committee is really going to make me think on that one.
Moving on. Still in Minto. The 4 seed, we've got Wetfoot Nash coming at you. The Chacos are in.
It's a Wetfoot alarm. Very nice. Yeah, everybody knows. Anybody tuning into this live coverage this morning, this afternoon, they know Wetfoot Nash is a force to be reckoned with. So I expect them to do great things once again.
Yep, moist as noise.
Oh my gosh, this sure is. I forgot about moist as noise.
We've got our first team in out of the Lakes Conference, in as a 13 seed, Brule Lake.
Brule. Wow. What a hero. What a champ. So many trips there in the last year. So many permits. Very inviting. Very dangerous. You got to respect that team.
Yes.
But boy, yeah, I was messing around on the YouTube channel last night, anticipation for this great day, and I stumbled upon the ice breaking video on our attempt at Davis.
Yeah.
From last fall, and showed it to Natalie. She said, "Where the hell is this? It's in Brule. What are you talking about?" She's like, "It's a really nice looking lake."
Yeah,
I agree.
It is a very nice looking lake. A little bit of a lower seed, but they came in strong. They're always a tough team to beat, especially late in the season like that. They just kind of get rolling, and they'll just kind of keep battering you. There's the heavy defense is not going to be a high scoring game. I just cannot imagine that it is. So we'll finish up the last few teams and maybe make some of our actual thoughts on this part of the bracket, including maybe a lock of the week or two.
Waves and waves of scoring on a Brule, and
yes,
sometimes you get that noise pollution affecting your mindset, but boy, they are a tough one.
All right, we've got a 6 seed here, the only team out of the Vista Conference from the heart of the Quetico Superior region. We've got Thunder Point in as a 6 seed.
Oh my.
I
can't remember the last time Thunder Point made the show.
Nope.
But it's it's one of the better ones out there, and it's a real effort. Every week and every game you see them. It's a real effort. What location are we in currently?
Bike.
Oh, we're in Bike.
We're pronouncing it correctly this year.
We know what we're doing here. Okay.
They are going up against the 11 seed Camp Slippers. Solid matchup there.
You're not going to be climbing that lookout in your slippers. So only one kind of thing can win out here: the comfort of camp, or the actual hiking of a vista. That's a real oil and water kind of matchup there.
Yeah, from the footwear conference, that's a relatively deep conference. We'll see some more for sure coming on the other side.
Absolutely.
Of this tournament.
Yeah, they may not be considered a powerhouse conference, but they have a lot of clout, the footwear.
Moving on. The 3 seed in bike from the Falls Conference, Curtin Falls.
Very nice.
Ooh, very nice team.
It's not a team I'd want to see in the first round.
A sexy team.
I can see a lot of picks being made in favor of Curtin Falls this year.
There is silky smooth one that will just kind of keep rolling over you.
Yes.
Yes.
Great currents.
And they're going up against Wool Shirt as a 14 seed.
Wool Shirt only as a 14 seed. I have no idea what the selection committee was on. Perhaps some edibles by this point, but that's pretty low for the Wool Shirts. Always keeping it comfortable.
Yeah.
But that's going to be a fun one. I can't imagine wool shirts have enough power to overcome the currents at the Falls.
I would be shocked if there was any kind of an upset in this
It
matchup.
makes me quite sad.
Oh, the 7 seed in bike, they dropped. They had a tough season. Tough season. The Biters. Pizza, that is, in as a 7 seed in bike. We'll see if they can get their act together when it counts. But, man, they were just off and on. They were either too hot or not hot enough.
They burned a couple, and then they had a couple icy middles. Not good either way. Pains me to see them drop. If you had told me a year ago, Eric, that the Biters would be down at a 7 seed, I would have said you're full of baloney.
Yeah.
And not the delicious bologna filling from a pizza biter either.
Yeah.
But that said, they're in. They've made the show.
Yeah, they're in.
They have a chance, just like every other team here today. So they could go all the way.
Yeah.
As a 7, or they could lose in the first round. Who's to say?
I mean, they did make a late season coaching switch from Coach Microwave to Coach Toaster Oven.
That's
so
nice.
You might see some more consistency from them going forward.
Yeah, the Coach Toaster Oven, he's got them doing the right things, but yeah, they're real hit or miss so far this year.
Yeah, so far, hopefully they can get their play evened out a little bit as they go up against. They made it. The Brown Volcanoes are
in. Oh, yes. I was pretty confident in my sources on that one, and it made a lot of sense based on just the way this year had gone. But, that's a real special time when you're making your first tournament like that.
Man, that's just a meme matchup if there ever was one.
A lot of history.
A lot of history between
these two teams. And they're getting together in the first round of the Tumble Tourney 2021.
Yeah, we'll finish off here with the last matchup, the 215. Who's the 2 seed out of bike? And not another. Our first, actually, I believe, out of the Watercraft Conference. We've got the North Star Northwind 17 as a 2.
That is well deserved. The case could have been made for them as a 1. Easily, and as people will see now, last year Kevlar Canoe made it to the final as a generic oversimplification of a very key area of the Boundary Waters, and the selection committee has deemed that they should be broken up into its own conference.
Too much of a monopoly. Is like the Bell Phone Company. They had to get broken up.
Yeah, so the antitrust hammer came in there and shattered them into still one of the greatest conferences in the entire league. I guarantee we'll see some more action out of the Watercraft Conference. But as a 2, can't argue against it. And they have a chance. Bag of Wine is the 1 seed, pretty strong, but at least they end up going up against Northern Lights potentially. So
right,
I know there's a lot of Northwind fans out there. That one is a team to watch.
Well, let's see who they're going up against as the 15 seed as we finish up the west end of this tournament. They did make it. A bubble team. Ensign Lake is in as a 15.
Wow, another lake has made it. So we got 2 lakes in the west region, 1 in Minto and 1 in Bike. Good to see Ensign in there. Looks like the Bears are gonna be going to the dance this year. We'll see how many loose food packs they can grab and drag off into the woods.
God forbid Ensign makes it through and meets Pizza Biters. That would be a troubling matchup. They could make a deep run.
Yes, or they may, you may be hiding by the Brown Volcano. Otherwise, who knows? Oof. But yeah, I would say unlikely they'll be able to get by the beautiful Northwind team. Sleek, fast, everything you want in a team, efficient. And I would say the matchup of this bracket would be Pizza Biters versus the Brown Volcano.
Yes.
Hashtag PB Nation versus the Peakers. Who's to say how that one could turn out a number of different ways. I expect it'll be a very close. But I don't know. I think you could argue the Pizza Biters as a 7. Kind of a bit of a disrespect there on the history of that team, but you got to rank the team in front of you, not the team you imagine. So be interesting to see how the voters respond to that one. Yes, we got Thunder Point making a very strong bet as a 6 seed.
Well, I should just say the Pizza Biters were in and out of the top 25 all season. They didn't even finish in the top 25. So
yeah, they have the potential. Everybody knows that. Pretty funny to see the Green-eared Sunfish make the show.
that'll be fun.
They may be the classic hashtag happy to be here team.
Yeah.
But they might just overwhelm with numbers. It could be a first ever 16 versus 1 upset. I kind of doubt it though. So we've got a pretty good bracket looking here in the West. The top seeds here being Northern Lights and Bag of Wine.
I think my most interesting. There's a couple. I believe that the Hammocks versus Owls and Chacos versus Brule Lake. That's my most interesting kind of section of the Minto tourney. Should be interesting to see how the votes shake out on those two matchups.
I got my eyes on a potential weird matchup in Isabella versus if Skinny Dipping gets through against the Squirrels, as I expect. It's possible they could be facing off against Dead Calm Reflections. These two ideas are incompatible extremely. If you are in the water, the lake will not be calm.
Yeah.
Unless you're somehow sleeping in the water in the nude, you have to be very still. The mind of a Zen warrior, maybe like a nude Labanga, just meditating in the lake.
Mm-hmm.
Then perhaps those two could get along. But that's a very interesting possible second round matchup there.
Yeah, again, I don't see any trouble for the number 1 seed in this section of the tournament until at least the Sweet 16 again, if not the Elite 8. I don't know. Crazier things have happened. I wouldn't be surprised if we get a hot team going. But Bag of Wine, they're a number 1 seed for a reason. I see them as a favorite going deep.
Absolutely. All right. I think we can go ahead and move on. Do we have any other questions from the audience? The Ensign boys are sneaky and opportunistic.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. We got definitely some shout-outs for the Hydration-ish.
Wet Bed Nation.
Yeah. Oh, dear. Oh, my.
All right. Should we move on to the East, up to Atticoken?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I got to have a sip of this pseudo soup before we move on.
I might need you to pull off the Post-it notes on this side.
Yeah, you are the let me readjust my seat here.
You're
the East and I am the West. We're starting from the top in Atticoken. Here we go. Oh, don't do it wrong. Top seed, the Winona Minto.
Of course.
It has a number 1 seed. They and the Northwind going back and forth in that watercraft conference all season. They finished as the number 2 overall seed with a 27-3 record. Real fine season. Had Northern Lights and KP Index not just be on a ridiculous run. They had a real strong bid to be that top seed. Anybody listening to the show knows we're big fans. So no surprise to see them as the 1, especially after we saw the Northwind come in as a 2 seed. You had to imagine they were the Min-2s were going to get one of those other ones.
Yep.
So sleek, so fast. Who are they facing at the 16? Oh, God almighty. It's the Bucket Hats.
Oh,
the Apparel Conference.
Oh, no. How'd they make it?
They made it all the way to the conference. They didn't win the conference championship, but they made it to the finals of the Apparel Conference after a sick season. So they earned a spot, I guess. They squeaked in.
They squeaked in just ahead of Blue Jeans.
And Jorts. Jorts and Blue Jeans and Bucket Hat were all there. White cotton sock had a bit of a run at the end, but as we said, the Apparel Conference has got a lot of good teams in it, so no surprise to see them in there. An unfortunate matchup for them, but they'll, I'm sure, be happy to be there. Moving on in Atticoken, 8 seed Lake Trout out of the Critter Conference.
Very nice season from the Lake Trout.
Is that our first fish?
Green-eared sunfish.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. Well, they're more of a mythical fish.
Yeah.
This is our first real fish, the lake trout. They're always strong. And, the fact that the Tumble Tourney always happens in March, which is one of the best months to fish for lake trout.
Yeah.
I would not want to be facing off against this team.
Yeah. The barrel rolling Lakers.
And the 9 seed, Leather Boots.
Ooh, out of the footwear conference.
Another footwear, and this one is technically Wet Foot Nash.
It could be.
Great hiking support. That'll be a fun one to watch. Lake trout versus Leather Boots, 8-9. Those 8-9s are always hard to call. It could go either way.
It could. I see some early predictions that the lake trout are the lock of the week in this matchup, though.
Yeah, we have not made a lock of the week yet. I think we'll wait now until the end of the show. Maybe we only get one lock of the week each. So
well, I mean,
comment
obviously
carefully.
the 1/16 matchups are always locks, but
You can't use those.
No.
Those are off limits, but yeah, calling a lake trout as a lock of the week as an 8 seed.
8-9 lock?
That's bold. Next up, 5 seed, White Pine in the Tree Conference.
Another team from the Tree Conference. Any campsite that has a beefy Sentinel White Pine in it does boost its grade. I feel like a 5 seed is a solid seed for this team.
Absolute. And looks like the committee drew a little White Pine on there. That's pretty nice. 5 is going up against a 12 seed here. And Isaacs, Lucius, another fish. We got 2 fish in this. This could be a possible matchup later down the road of fish on fish, but they'd have to get a couple wins each to make that happen.
Yeah.
The pike, they are snapping.
They are snapping. I don't see them having much luck against the White Pine, but you never know. 5/12s are always a dangerous matchup.
I wouldn't be surprised in the least to see the pike thrash the White Pine. It all depends on how the land voters versus the lake voters go.
Yeah.
Either could show up. We'll see. Opposite, the Garmin InReach making its tournament debut. A lot of people are in the NAV conference and MAPS navigation conference, I guess is what people are now calling that region, and a lot of people out there talking these guys up.
Yep.
A lot of people reaching for this and ditching the paper map these days. So it's the future, they say.
Kind of like those old Gonzaga teams where after a while you just had to start recognizing them as a legit team.
Absolutely. As my old boomer financial planner calls it, the cyber map.
Yes, it's a cyber map.
Don't call it that. It's the future. And the 13 seed Frittata. Gets a tough matchup over there.
Mm-hmm.
Oh boy, the final matchup in Atticoken, Frittata. I don't care how much fresh dill you put on that thing. That is a sick matchup. I don't have much hope, but at the very least, the Frittatas made the tournament, and we're happy to see them in there. At the very least, everybody in Atticoken will get a fine breakfast on day 1 of the tournament.
Yeah.
We'll see how many Frittatas are in their future, though.
They are a magnanimous team. A lot of times why their bench isn't as deep as they are. Somehow they like to feed the fans, coverage, all the media. I mean, they got to just stop doing that if they ever really hope to go far.
They just give and give and give. They never take.
No.
And maybe that is just the nature of the Frittat. Moving on to Grand Portage. We had some really hot matchups in Grand Portage last year. They did a great job as a host city, and I'm excited for this section of the bracket. 6 seed, Cast Iron.
They're back.
Right next to the Frittata in the bracket, but they'd have to both go a long ways to actually meet up. They're back. They got bounced early last year. I never understood that last year. And they're getting as a 6 seed. The selection committee still believes in this team as a very strong addition to any Boundary Waters trip, and I would agree.
Cast Iron's going up against the 11 seed.
Oh boy, the Mackenzie Maps in as an 11 seed. I don't believe they were in last year's tournament.
They're not.
Somehow didn't make it.
They beat out Nat Geo this year.
They're a perennial team to be coming out of that Maps and Nav conference. So we got a couple Navs in here. We got a couple of fish on this east side already. Be interesting to see how far those teams can go. Essential for a good Boundary Waters trip to know where you are.
Agreed.
Okie doke. Oh boy, another waterfall, our second waterfall in the bracket. Johnson Falls is the 3 seed.
Nice. 2-3 seeds as out of the Falls conferences. Curtin and Johnson.
One of my favorites.
One of my favorites as well. They've got a multifaceted Falls approach. Not just one, not just two.
They're not dumping their current all at once.
No.
They dump it in waves and pools.
They play a full 60.
Absolutely. And great swimming. A real relaxed approach. It seems to really, produce results. Johnson Ball is the 3 seed going against, oh boy, the Grumman Aluminum Canoe as a 14 seed makes it.
Another team out of the Watercraft Conference. The Grummans make it in. Old Battle Axe.
They're just paddling.
Indestructible.
They're just paddling. They'll paddle right down Johnson Falls. I think this is one of my favorite matchups so far. You could go up or down Johnson Falls in a Grumman canoe.
It's a fun matchup for sure.
Next up in Grand Portage, the 7 seed Wolf Howls. We have Loon Calls and Wolf Howls making the tournament this year. A lot of sounds out there in nature.
Yes.
And fun to see both. 2 of my favorites making the show. Wow, wouldn't that be just a dream possible championship? Go ahead and say it right now. Loon Calls versus Wolf Howls in the final.
That'd be amazing.
Just think of all the, we could gather audio samples from people doing the best impressions of both. A lot of fun to be had. 7 seed going up against the 10, the Rainfly. No brand indicated this year. Last year, CCS Rainfly made it, and I believe got a win or 2.
They did, and kind of made a little bit of a run.
Stay dry. So you would be a good choice to keep that in your arsenal. But if I could go on a trip and either I got a Rainfly and got to stay dry, or I got to hear some wolf calls, boy, I think I'd lean towards the wolf calls. And so has the selection committee with the higher seed there as a 7. Last matchup in Grand Portage. This is a tricky post-it note. The 2 seed Bacon.
Bacon from the Food Conference. They were not in it last year. Shockingly. Shocking that they missed it last year. They're back in this year as a high seed.
Yeah, do we have their final record handy? I know they were in the top 25 pretty much all year.
They were. They were a top 10 team almost all year. They finished at 12, a little bit of a setback at the end of the year, finished 25-7.
Oh, and they got they probably have the toughest 15 seed. They're going against Zip Off Pants, Eric, over there in Grand Portage. We know how people like their Zip Off Pants.
Yeah, from the Apparel Conference.
Very interesting there. I expect Bacon will get through, but I would think Zip Off Pants are going to get a lot of votes. Probably the most of all the 15 seeds we've seen so far.
Right.
But that's why you play the games. We have two sets of brackets from Ambrose Homestead and the Isle of Pines yet to come out of the East. How are we standing on our bubble teams update?
The bubble update, Headlamp
is in.
Has made it in. Ensign Lake
is in.
Boy, that's it. Out of the bubble teams, we've got a lot of bubble teams that are still there is some desperate teams sitting in arenas right now watching the Selection Sunday with fingers crossed. How many more? I don't think that all of these teams can make it in.
There's only so many spots left.
No.
Got a great comment here from Mitchell on the feed. I hear Grumman has a habit of folding when the heat is on.
Wow.
Yeah, you want to paddle a Grumman. You don't want to hot tub it. It'll be interesting to see how their coach strategizes as they get ready for that first round matchup.
Yep.
But I could see him going over the falls. I would not be surprised at all if Grumman overcomes the Johnson Falls team.
I could see it. Yeah. There's also seems like there's some early fans of the Zippies saying that Bacon is overrated. They did
might have a lot of, and it's not so much the Zippies, it's what about the vegetarians,
right?
That's more and more becoming a thing that people are doing for their health. Makes you a strong paddler. There's a lot of protein sources, but man, the bacon, it's nostalgia, the great smells, the way it works well with the cast iron. Pretty fun to see. We could have a cast iron versus bacon matchup in the Sweet 16.
There's a lot of food in this conference. So far, we've got fresh blueberries, biters, and bacon in. We shall see if avocado will make the 4th team out of the food conference. That remains to be seen.
They are sitting on their Davenport with their pits crossed.
Mm-hmm.
Coach Lime, he said, no matter what happens today, boys, we had a great season. And I'm proud of you.
Yeah.
That's coming in from our insiders hanging out at headquarters for Team Avocado. But there's only so many spots left. It could be a heartbreak. Team Harmonica sitting there too, sitting on their Davenport.
Coach Toot
sitting around the campfire with Coach Toots. They're still playing, festive music there. We can see the feed. We're not able to bring that to this live feed for copyright reasons at this point, privacy as well. But it looks like they're keeping spirits up there around the campfire with Coach Toots. He's a great, magnanimous figure. Anybody would be happy to play for Coach Toots.
Maybe next year we can do artwork for some of the bubble teams when they as they find out that they made the tournament.
Maybe we could role play and film some. We could play the harmonicas or dress up as avocados.
Yeah.
But who's to say which teams will be on the bubble in 2022?
Yeah, who knows? We're still in 2021.
Thank you for being here today on Tumble Home Sports Network, tuning in. Vote in the comments whose hair looks better. I think it's Eric's, but I did use a lot of product. We got to keep removing move here. It's all right. We're going to stop talking about our wonderful hair and get back to the tournament coverage. People have to get out and ski. Oh, somebody's wondering where Raggedy Old Hoodie is. We haven't even mentioned them as a bubble team.
I think they pretty much just fell apart this last season.
Yeah, they were covered in cat hair, and then they got a real bad rip in them.
Mm-hmm.
And they may have been left out of the pack entirely. We're not expecting them to see them, but we never know what the selection committee has decided. So
I would be shocked if we saw them. Moving on to the last.
There's no hair in the TSN logo. Yeah, just shades. I don't know who drew this. Why are we sitting in the middle of the canoe? It's weird. It doesn't really matter. The lapel version is better, but the art department's going to get a real talking to after this coverage is over. All right, moving on to the Ambrose Homestead. First time ever hosting games at the Ambrose. Benny is not going to be making the tournament this year, but his Homestead will be. This is exciting. All right. Top seed at the Ambrose Homestead, Moose. Oh, the Critter Conference, and the
Mighty Moose.
They destroyed the Critter Conference, one of the best conferences out there, and they walked away with it early, just lumbered through the forest, racking up victories.
Wow, very nice. Nothing could stop them this year. Who are they going up against?
16 seed Kayak. Oh no. Boy. Can I portage a kayak? See every message thread and board ever about the Boundary Waters. How about I take a kayak to Rose Lake? How about you just go and sink that piece of crap in the lake? Don't. That's litter. That's litter. Souris River 17 out of the Watercraft Conference. Back-to-back Watercrafts.
Wow.
As the 8th seed.
Yeah, we could see that. I think
the Quetico 17 from Souris River. People love the flex weave and the webs.
Yeah.
The ribbed bottom.
We've got 3 Kevlars, a Grumman, and a kayak in the tournament this year. I don't know how many more Watercraft can make it in.
The kayak didn't even make the final game of the conference championship in Watercraft. I don't know what the selection committee is doing. Is this a joke selection of some sort? I guess it doesn't really matter. I can't see them even getting 10 votes. Moving on, the 9 seed against the Souris River is a camera. Look at that as a 9 seed. I think they were a 9 seed last year. No, perpetual 9 seed.
They were a 13 seed. They were last year's deep Cinderella run. They made it all the way to the Sweet 16.
Ah, wow. Absolutely. People want to capture the memories, Eric.
Yeah, they smoked X-Rap in the first round.
Oh, yeah, that's right. The 5 seed, Walleye, another good fish. Got 3 fish on the east side here.
Yeah.
It'd be so it's a possible matchup in the championship of slip bobber rig versus Walleye.
That would be interesting.
Keep that in mind.
That's a tough matchup for the Walleyes.
5s getting a 12 seed here in the Ambrose Homestead. This is possibly a team that's nervously waiting on their Davenport. You'd have to see. No, it's not. It's Coffee, Eric. Coffee was not on our radar at all.
No, they were not.
Wow. Look at that steaming mug of coffee. Is it instant coffee? Is it pressed coffee? It doesn't matter. That's weird. That's one where the conferences kind of went backwards. We used to have multiple different coffee teams.
Mhm.
They've all been consolidated at the Coffee U.
Just Coffee U.
Put a little creamer on that thing.
Mhm.
A little walleye for breakfast, maybe. Right. Wool socks. Another wool item out of the. Is this out of the footwear or out of the apparel conference?
They're a footwear team.
They're one of the more interesting teams in the footwear conference. As a 4 seed, very strong.
Very strong. Maybe a little overrated.
Yeah, that's kind of a surprise to see them as a 4. Sometimes it's just about the way the brackets fit together, though. Maybe they didn't deserve a 4, but they got it. And I would never go on a trip without wool socks. They get the 13 seed. Oh, boy, a good book.
I can't believe Good Book made it in again this year.
Keeps getting in. I don't know who they're paying.
Yeah.
What kind of royalty scheme they have set up, but a good book is in once again. I don't believe they made it out of the first round ever in their entire existence. People always fall asleep before they finish the first chapter, and then they think, why the hell did I bring a book?
Yeah, they're like the Minnesota Wild of the Tumble Tourney.
Ooh.
They always make it, but they'll never do anything in the tournament.
All right, moving on, and that completes the Ambrose homestead. We're moving on to Isle of Pines. It's too bad Thunder Point didn't make it to the Isle of Pines bracket. They just didn't earn that home field advantage, I guess.
Too much of a
Remember how
home field
Dorothy
advantage.
Moulter and the Root Beer Boys skated through the first round just on home field advantage alone?
Yeah.
Chugging bush lattes on their snowmobiles as they violated the rules of the park. You're not going to get that kind of advantage as we've seen. And who's to say what else will be here in Isle of Pines? But we're down to our final section of brackets.
I don't think too many of these bubble teams are going to make it.
Ugly stick fishing rod.
Oh, the ugly sticks.
Wow, and then we do have a fishing rod finally. I was starting to wonder if the fishing conference was going to even get a rod in. We have slip bobbers in so far, and that's about it. The fishing conference is having a real off season, as we said earlier. A little disrespect as the 6th seed there. I would assume probably the top seeded fishing pole at this point, maybe the only fishing pole. They are getting the 11 seed. Wow, there they are. Ripe avocados. Cue the video feed. Coach Lime is ecstatic.
Oh, they're going crazy. They're squirting lime juice everywhere.
They are dancing with chips. This is
they got to be careful with those chips, though.
This is a great scene. Wow. Congratulations to the avocados.
I'm happy for them.
Very happy to see them make the tournament. I think they earned it, and we're happy to see them get in. That is a bubble team for the ages, and they are going see next matchup here is Knife Lake.
And another lake.
And now talk about a home field advantage. Knife Lake on the Isle of Pines site. I don't see anybody topping them. Who is going to be the 2 seed here? I feel a little bad.
Yeah.
Whatever 2 seed is going to face that hot 3 seed, probably our top rated lake out of the Lakes Conference. And yes, sources, I'm checking my notes here. They did win the Lakes Conference, and it wasn't even close.
Right.
What a lake.
What a lake. Who's going up against?
3 seed getting the 14 seed Muck Boot.
Uh-oh.
No respect for the Muck Boot.
I don't see Muck Boot standing a chance. They barely squeaked in out of the footwear conference.
They're always in the mix, but they just never seem to have the team put together to really make a deep run.
They always seem to have some weird hatred towards them that I just don't fully understand.
They're consistent, and they always stay dry and warm, but rarely make it very far in the tournament. I don't see them getting by Knife Lake at all.
We got 4 more teams to make the tourney here.
Ooh, the Silky Boy Saw out of the Edged Blade Conference. That's second saw in. Ooh, boy, I don't know if we're going to see any splitting malls this year. We got 2 saws making it.
Nope.
The Sven Saw did win their conference, but that was always like a real 1-2 punch there in the Edged tools this year.
Mm-hmm.
That's a pretty interesting team there as the 7 seed. They're getting a 10 seed matchup against the Cribbage Board. Holy moly.
From the Entertainment Conference.
That's an interesting pick by the selection committee.
Very interesting.
One of the precious few spots in the tournament. We're down to 2 more here at Isle of Pines. The harmonicas are starting to look a little sad over there on the video feed.
I don't know about the harmonica.
They're going for a 15 seed at this point. Who knows? Milky Way out of the Sky Conference.
Another team out of the Sky Conference, the Milky Ways.
They're getting a little overshadowed by the Northern Lights those last couple seasons, but the Milky Ways, they've won plenty of championships in their past. A historic program, and always one of the greats of the Tumble Tourney. So no surprise that the 2 seed and the final spot in this year's Tumble Tourney is Lagomorphs. The Lagomorphs speed pass. Oh, wow. It's a 15 seed. They squeak in. They might have a bloody eyeball hanging out of their skull, but they're still hopping. Keep hopping.
Oh, man. The Lagomorphs, the coach cannot contain them. The gymnasium
they're running.
Is being overrun. They're in the rafters somehow at that Lagomorph U. I cannot believe it. They are going crazy. The harmonicas, duct tape, Bic lighter, Nalgene's.
Oh no, somebody's rolling their eyes at the cribbage board. Wow, I don't know. I've seen youths play cribbage. Oh boy. Yeah, and
somebody
says the Silky Boy is going to slice up that cribbage board.
Probably.
Yeah, we got a couple people thinking there's going to be some saw on board violence out there in Isle of Pines, and I'm on board with that scenario for sure.
And we didn't make the selections. We are just the insiders. Who knows where these decisions were made? But I do really like. I really like what the Milky Ways have in front of them. I don't see anything stopping them until, the Elite Eight. I don't know, unless the avocados really keep the juice flowing.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the Moose was the 4th of the 1 seeds, it looks like, from our information. And the Milky Way as a 2 seed is it's a strong team, but it's not super intimidating. I think Knife Lake as a 3 seed, probably of all the 3 seeds, has the strongest case to make that Final Four. They could be a team to watch, but we got a lot of voting between here and there. Multiple weeks of voting ahead of us, so we're not going to get too far ahead of ourselves. Who do you got out there, folks? We're interested to see what you have for your Final Four picks.
It's up to you.
We want to hear your Final Four and your champion.
Yeah, I'll set that up. We can get a little Google form going. Eventually, it'd be fun to have a whole, actually submit a bracket, but I could maybe explore that for a little bit. It seems like a lot of work.
Who's going to get the least amount of votes?
The cell phone towers.
Cell phone towers? Oh, boy. I don't know. Yeah, that's in a just world. The cell phone towers would probably get the least.
I would hope so.
I'm sure they'll get more than kayak and even bucket hat. No problem.
I feel like this the bottom right quadrant of this, the hallowed Tumble Tourney has some of the best matchups that I think will see the closest vote totals. That's just my original thought.
Yeah, the Tents and Long John's 8-9 seed up in Remix is rivaled only in coziness by the Woolsocks Good Book 4-13 seed out there in in Ambrose Homestead, sitting by the fire with a good book, wearing wool socks. That one's going to be up there in the cozy factor for sure.
Yep, I'm sure we'll hear from our correspondents in the field on the subreddit.
Somebody's upset Bluetooth speakers didn't even get a mention. No Coleman cooler.
They beat the cell phone towers beat out the Bluetooth speakers.
Yeah, seriously. In the noise pollution conference. It's a weird conference. Screeching bros, people singing too loud, and bagpipes never even got a vote. It looks like. Nope.
Yeah, the harmonicas they'll, I guess, have to just annoy people in the NIT this year.
I'm sure people want to hear Amazing Grace at 9 in the morning.
Mm-hmm. Any final thoughts on our final 64 before we get out of here and look forward to a first round coverage? We're going to shift the coverage a little bit. Is that right? We're going to do Mondays.
Yeah, I would say like keep the voting open through Sunday night with then live updates every Monday going forward. It just seems to work out well for our schedules the way they're set up right now.
It might not work out for people that have actual jobs, but I feel like there's a good number of people who don't have actual jobs and they're either working at home or are just on permanent vacation.
And you can always watch the coverage later. Just don't, avoid spoilers until you're able to watch the coverage.
Yeah.
Because doing it on Sunday nights just isn't going to work out. I think we were doing them on Saturdays last year. Saturday nights would be an option, but maybe we can do like the championship week, move them forward a little bit because we don't need a whole week of voting when there's only 2 matchups.
Right. We'll probably go a full week for the first and
first couple
round.
rounds. We'll probably be doing Monday mornings or Monday, noon.
Monday noons.
Noons on Monday. And
on your lunch breaks.
Yeah, and then the last couple of rounds, maybe we'll push it back to Saturday night in a prime time, Eric.
We could do a primetime Final Four championship coverage. Yeah, we'll
Absolutely.
keep you updated out there. Tumble homies, thanks for all that joined on the YouTube live stream. If you weren't able to catch us live, it will just be up as a video.
Paul is just distraught over the full moons getting beat out by skinny dipping.
The full moons, they were in the Sky Conference, and they just, I'm shocked only 2 teams made it out of the Sky Conference.
Too many cloudy nights.
Yeah, it's been a cloudy last 6 months, and that really does put a damper in on their performances. So
we have a proud bucket hatter here. Cannot be shamed.
Proud bucket, old Buckety. Could you imagine how sad their mascot is? Old Buckety.
Sunburnt fisherman.
Yeah, with just like the old fly, one single fly hook.
It's old Norman from A River Runs Through It, really, but he's as sunburnt as brother Neil from LA, if that makes sense.
Yeah. The bucket hat, it does nothing.
I got some real swell hooch here. I can't wait to see how the voting goes on this one. And as soon as we get the video feed down here, I'm going to start filling out my bracket. That's for sure. Thank you for being with us here today on Tumble Home Sports Network, TSN, coming to you live from Studio K. This is going to be a tradition unlike any other. And I don't care what happens with the regular hoops. This is still the last tourney standing, in my opinion.
I totally agree. Before we go, besides a 1 versus 16, who's your lock of the week?
Yeah, we need to get a lock of the week going here. Boy, I don't know. That's a tough one. It's easy to say the 3 of Knife Lake versus Muck Boot, even though I love Muck Boots, though. Boy, I'm going to go ahead and give it to the Garmin InReach over the Frittata. Again, it's always hard to make these decisions, but I feel like the future is now, and the Garmin InReach, I think, get used to it. As far as the NABS conference, you gotta have something with you to know where you're going.
Yeah.
Whichever way the wind blows, and you're not gonna bring a Fisher map. You're probably gonna go with the Garmin InReach, and that's just the wave of the future. So.
I'm gonna go ahead and give mine to the Gravity Filters as a 6 seed.
Yeah.
Lock of the week.
Hydration H.
They don't have too many teams this year to latch onto, so I feel like it's going to be a heavy bandwagon following. And unfortunately, I see the Slip Bobber rigs going out early. That's a tough matchup. So that's my lock of the week.
All right. We'll mark it down. And the snow has let up, and I think it's time to maybe get outside and enjoy a beautiful afternoon on the North Shore. We'll see you next Monday morning with round 1 coverage on a tradition unlike any other. Thanks for being here, folks. And thanks for these delicious pseudo-sues. And thanks to all our friends and sponsors on Patreon. We couldn't be here without you. Eric's hair would definitely not look this good without our friends on Patreon. Sending him lots of product and pomade. And if anybody knows, I am looking for a turtleneck for next week's coverage. So if anybody up here has a turtleneck I can borrow, that would be nice, because my neck's feeling a little squeezed.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
So many wasted Post-it notes.
Oh, it went over an hour?
What do you know?
How did it? Felt like 10 minutes.
Oh my God.
Cheers. The fighting hammocks. Coach Maui Jim. The polarized sunglasses. Yeah, what happened to polarized sunglasses? Never even heard from them. I think they got dropped in the lake.
I think that's what
They're at the bottom of Ensign Lake. Maui Jim. Yeah, thanks, Mike, for the reminder on the lock of the week. Is that going to be the screen grab for the video?